carried on. Austin, the Secretary of the National Defense of the United States, showed his sense of crisis towards Putin, the president of Russia, who indicated the possibility of usage of nuclear weapons over Ukraine invasion, as he didn't control himself on a CNN TV show recently. And in the first place, generally, we have the common recognition that nuclear weapons exist not for usage, but for deterrence. So that a nuclear weapon should exist for deterrence to contain hostile forces, right? As a common recognition in the international community, a nuclear weapon is something to put the screw on a hostile country that gets on the nerve of your country. So, but this is just a theory based on the common recognition that we count on the conscience of a country with nuclear weapons in accordance with the mutual agreements made in the United Nations. So this theory is only established on the basis of mutual trust of all nuclear powers. So what I mean is, like, even if there is a formal agreement that decides the regulations and restrictions on nuclear weapon usage, we never know if a country with a nuclear weapons is fully convinced with this agreement made in the United Nations, right? So assuming that nuclear power is supreme power in the world, and it is too enormous power to force the country to obey the usage restrictions. Nobody can force a country with nuclear weapons to stop using nuclear weapons, and nobody can interfere in the country's final decision to use nuclear weapons. So it is obvious, right? Just remember, nobody in no country has a power to stop nuclear power to use nuclear weapons. So other nuclear powers also hesitate to decide to use it in the same way to take countermeasure against this situation because of concerns of global scale destruction due to collision of nuclear weapons among more than 2 countries in the world. So all we can do is just we hold anti-nuclear demonstrations and protest to gain support of the international community, and we just wait until the country with nuclear weapons change its mind to stop using nuclear weapons, or third country attempts to interfere in the situation to persuade a country with nuclear weapons not to use nuclear weapons. So at least we are always exposed to the threat of nuclear weapons, no exceptionally as far as nuclear weapons exist on the earth, right? So, and we have to be always prepared for this situation where any of nuclear powers may use nuclear weapons triggered by something all of a sudden, right? So I don't mean to say anti-nuclear movements are just no use, but we have to remember that the decision of usage of nuclear weapon is always left up to a nuclear power itself, no matter how restricted it is to use through mutual agreement in the United Nations, right? So I repeatedly say the same thing here on several videos on my channel, but the definition of peace in modern days is just a stability on the basis of equilibrium preserved by deterrence of 5 permanent members of the Security Council of the United Nations that possess nuclear weapons.